I was thinking about, a few years ago, you had a meeting that you had to go to where you had to kind of confront this guy. And I
Yeah.
remember asking you, hey, how did the meeting go? And you said, well, we'll see. And I was like,
Yeah.
what do you mean we'll see? And you said, we'll know in a few weeks how the meeting turned out.
Yeah. If
Right.
something changes, it was worthwhile. If not, it was a total waste of time. No matter how well it went in the 20 minutes you're there, if
Right.
nothing changes, you wasted your time.
So that line, we'll see, is kind of how I've been thinking back on 2020. I've been trying to figure out how do we interpret 2020?
Yeah.
Completely not what most of us expected. Some people I've talked to, they say it's the best year of their life. Most people would say not the best year of my
Yeah.
life. Horrible
Yeah.
year. Emily, she got furloughed from her job this year. She was super bummed about that. A lot of people had that situation. But I was thinking about that line, we'll see. And it reminded me of something in Ecclesiastes 7.
Mm.
This line right here, it's actually probably one of my favorite verses in all of the Bible. It says, better is the end of a thing than its beginning, and the patient in spirit is better than proud in spirit. Basically, you don't know how stuff's going to turn out until a long way down the road. And I kind of wonder if 2020 is that way too. Like when we look at 2020 on face level, thumbs down. But I wonder if 2020 is going to turn out to that way in the long run if we can keep a long-term perspective.
We'll see.
That's great. Thanks, Dad.
Okay, end of podcast there.
But you know what? Another funny thing about it is Ecclesiastes in this section, it says better is the end than the beginning. And then it goes on to say, don't say, why were the former days better than today? Because it's not wise to ask those questions. And I think all of us are like, when are we going to get back to the normal? And you're like, well, we may never get back to the normal, whatever the normal was. And some of us didn't need to get back to the normal.
Well, of course, now Solomon hadn't experienced anything as terrible as COVID. I mean, this is the worst that the universe has ever experienced, right?
It's the end of the world.
Yeah. That's what I saw. A thing. It said, okay, we all agree that this is the worst year ever. Well, unless you lived at any other time in world history in any other place. Yeah.
Right. Black Death or whatever.
It's been bad. It's been bad.
Black Plague.
It hasn't been as bad as. Yeah.
So what's your take on how we should like wrap up 2020? How do you keep a good perspective on 2020? Because otherwise you just go, let's kick this this year to the curb.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking about it, and we're planning, if we ever get back to normal, your mom and I have been planning on doing a little remodeling around here. And I thought about it, and it's like with the remodeling, whenever you do something like that, it's going to get worse before it gets better, right? It's going to be a mess. And it's going to be a mess for a long time. And so that's kind of what the 2020 is, the first phase of remodeling. Okay, everything was really good. It all worked, but it's like now it's a mess and it's falling apart and you just sort of have to survive it. But then I thought, okay, so you have two choices. Obviously, when you remodel, that first phase, you tear it up because you want to go back with something better. But imagine how foolish it'd be if, okay, everything's been torn up. Now, okay, honey, to save some money, we're going to use that same flooring and put it back. Nail those cupboards and cabinets back together, stick them back up on the wall. And I think that's what that's probably one of the worst things some people can do. They're going to go, I hated my job, but at least I had a job. And so I'm going to go back to that job I hate. Or I had this problem, or I had that relationship, and it's been kind of broken off a little bit, but I'm going to work to make it work again. And it's kind of like you could take advantage of this as phase one in the remodeling and go, you know what? I'm going to build something better out of this.
You got free demolition services.
Exactly. Everybody enjoyed it, no charge. Everything. I mean, so many people's lives have been like rattled. I was thinking even like of Joseph, and here we are at the Christmas season type of thing. His life was shattered. All of his dreams were shattered. Only God had another plan. And he could have said, nope, not going to do it. That doesn't fit my primary plan. That was not my original plan. I am not going to go in through that. But he accepted it. And you know what? It didn't make life easier for him. All of a sudden, he had the stigma of being, a child that was not his and a woman that, had been unfaithful to him. And he had to flee to Egypt and all kinds of bad stuff happened to him.
Yeah.
But he, instead of when everything was shattered and his whole world fell apart around him, he chose instead to follow the way of the Lord and say, okay, God, now he had an angel appear to him. That would make it a little easier. I have to admit, that would make it a little bit easier. But he chose to do that, and he chose a harder route. And so I just kind of feel like if we'll look at this like, okay, everything's been torn down. I get a chance to start fresh. It's like when you come to the red light, you can either, oh man, I just missed that light. Or I always try to do this. I turn to Jan and I say, oh, goody, we get to be first next time. You can look at it either.
That's your optimistic bent. That's not me. But
well,
here's
okay, so everything's falling apart. So you can either.
But here's what I've been thinking about in the long game. The Apostle Paul. You always hear these spiritual teachers, don't judge anything. Like, don't judge anything. You got to judge some stuff. Yeah. But there's this. I love how in 1 Corinthians 4, I think it is, he says, therefore judge nothing before the appointed time. Wait until the Lord comes and he'll bring to light what's hidden in darkness. And I was thinking about that. I'm like, I've been judging this year as this is a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad year. And there have been some horrible things that have happened, no doubt. But in the end, we don't know what's going to come of this. And if we really do believe that God works all things together for the good of those who love him, then you've got to believe that, again, the path of the righteous, like the light of dawn, shines brighter and brighter, that ultimately we'll see.
Yeah.
Maybe 2020 was the start of what could have, just transformation, the greatest things that could have happened in your life, if you look at it, right? But again, it comes down to how you framed it. So much of life is how you interpret it.
Yeah.
Is it, I got a chance to start a new career path, or I lost my job. Which if you lost your job, that's horrible. I'm sorry. The challenge is how are you going to look at it?
Yeah. So many people can look back at something that at the time seemed like a disaster. And they look back and they go, man, if that had not happened, this never could have happened. That's right. This is how many times have you heard that story? And probably most of us have experienced it to maybe a tiny degree, maybe not to this big of a degree. But I think most of us could look back and go, wow, okay, I really thought that was a bad deal. But if that hadn't happened, this wouldn't have happened. And so, yeah. And the other thing is, if those passages, such as what you quoted in Romans 8:28, if all things are working together for good, if those passages only count when everything's going the way we think they should, then you may as well tear them out of the Bible. They've got no value. They've got to count in the bad times. Bad times. We've got to believe that in the times when things aren't going well. Or they really have no value at all. If they only work in the sunny, cheery times, rainbows and bunny rabbits, then they really have no value. They got to work in the dark times.
So what I was thinking, just to kind of wrap this up, one of the things that I try and do at the end of every day is a little discipline of writing out what went well today, because I get so busy doing stuff and I think about all the stuff I didn't get done today. And I found, what went well today? And so I think maybe that'd be a great exercise at the end of this year. Take some time and write down, hey, what did go well this year? Because when I look back at the year, I'm like, wow, I wrote 2 books this year. It's crazy. By the way, shameless self-promotion here. This book is available now.
Oh, by the way, that's a good book. I really enjoyed reading it.
It's a little fiction book I wrote, but this was not a planned book for this year. I just had some extra time on my hand because I didn't get to hike the Inca Trail. But that was one of the things I thought. I was like, well, I didn't get to hike.
About hiking the Inca Trail.
Yeah.
There you go. So, that's what the book is. Tell them what the book is about. It's a great book. It's really
see how I turned this segment into a sales pitch for my book. But anyway.
And I got suckered into it, coming along and doing it with you. Man.
So, and that's the other thing we did this year. We did our podcast this year.
Yeah.
That we're up to like 75 episodes on that thing.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Yeah. So
that's one a week.
It's more than one a week. We've been doing it over a year. It's got
to be more than 1 week.
We've been doing it over a week. Yeah. So
wow.
Anyways, well, any final thoughts for the year before this turns into an extra long segment?
For a shameless promotion, how can people get that podcast? It really sounds like it would be interesting.
It's on iTunes. It's on Spotify, and this is what it is. This is what the podcast is. It's Dad and me just talking about stuff that I learned from him, like that.
Only you don't have to look at us. You can just listen.
Great thing about this format, we may need to do more of this format, is people can respond. Like I see Jared Harris wrote in, hey, Jared, what's up, man?
Yeah, hey, that's nice.
Justin Raven with his deep insight, big dogs.
Well, we know the people who have nothing else to do tonight, and so they're on Facebook. We can find those sluggards there,
Yeah.
Well, at least they're not watching TV or something. They're gaining some great insight from Facebook. Good for you guys.
Real insight.
Yeah,
yes.
Right.
So, Guided by Thunder is a good book. I highly recommend. Excellent. Hey, can you write a review on Amazon of that?
Yeah. By the way, you have good taste in books.
That's right. Well, Dad, it's going to be an interesting year next year. Don't think it's going to be it's going to be normal by any means.
We'll see.
But we'll see. All right.
Vamos a ver.
Catch you later.
Love you too. Bye-bye.